Hello everyone. Today we are going to study the basic concepts about polymerase chain reaction, which is abbreviated as PCR. PCR is a very useful technique used in molecular biology and genetic engineering nowadays. Most of the advanced techniques in genetic engineering and modern biology were developed, and it is based on polymerase chain reaction. Okay, let us see a brief history about the PCR. PCR is developed for amplifying the DNA. The DNA, when you talk about the DNA or the storehouse of the genetic information, we already know the basic structure of the DNA. Just let us review that one. DNA is a double helical structure, as you know, and DNA is having the complementary base pairing feature between the two anti-parallel strands. So the strands were anti-parallel, and there is complementary base pairing, that is a ATGC pairing in case of a DNA. And during the replication, it forms a fork or it unwinds, and helicase enzymes, etc., will unwind the DNA strand, and the template of the DNA will be used for a further copy of the daughter strands. So this DNA is actually the storehouse of the genetic information in all DNA based organisms. Now, the quantity of the DNA in every genome is much higher. Comparatively, it is in case of eukaryotes, the overall size of the genome is very huge. So when we ask the question, how do we identify and detect a specific DNA sequence in a genome, that becomes a problem. How do we identify and detect a very specific gene, for example, a gene of length 500 base pairs in a very large genome, maybe a billions of base pairs? How do you identify a particular sequence or a specific sequence in a very large genome of an organism? There are two big issues. One is specificity, which means there are a lot of other sequences in the genome that we are not interested in detecting. For example, in a human genome, there may be 3 billion base pairs, and out of which you want to identify a particular sequence of 500 base pair length. So you are not interested in any other regions. So if you want to identify the location of this concerned gene of 500 base pair length, you need to specifically locate that region from the huge amount of the DNA or the overall content of the genome that is present in the 3 billion base pairs. So in that case, the specificity of your sequence, identifying the specific sequence, is one issue. Then the amount of the DNA samples we are interested in is very small. So, which means in a particular organism, maybe a single copy of the gene is present. So, if you want to identify the location of the gene, the quantity of the actual sequence or the number of copies of that sequence in the sample may be much less. So, the amount of the DNA sample we are interested in may be very small, which means maybe you are extracting the DNA from a few hundred cells, which may have 100 copy of the entire gene that you are interested in. So from 100 copy of the gene, is it possible to locate or identify that particular sequence with a minimum quantity of the DNA? So if it is not possible, there should be some methods for amplifying the overall quantity of the DNA to make it up to the detectable limits, or the quantity may be increased to some detectable limits. That type of a solution is required. So we have two problems: specifically identifying the particular sequence in a large quantity of the genome, and another one, the overall quantity of the DNA may be much small if you are isolating the DNA from a few cells or a few hundred cells. So that may not be sufficient for you to visually identify, or using some other visualization methods, it is not possible to identify such a low quantity of the DNA or a sequence in a genome. So you have some problems with the specificity, and you also require amplification of the target sequence. So when we come to the specificity, how do we identify and detect the specific sequence in the genome? For example, in case of some organisms like a pine, maybe 68 billion base pairs are there. Corn, 5 billion base pairs. Soybean, 1.1 billion base pairs. Humans, 3.4 billion base pairs. And even HIV, it is having 9.7 thousand base pairs. So every organism, or depending upon the complexity of the organism, we have a very huge genomes like that of the pine, from which maybe you are interested in a particular gene of maybe 500,000 base pair length. How would you locate specifically such a target gene from a large genome of such an organism? And we will see an example for maybe the case of a 3 or 3.5 billion base pair human genome. Take the example. If the bases were written in a standard 10-point scale, maybe in which a division in the scale represents 1 mm, you know that. So if you are using such a scale in which each mark or each division that represents a base pair, if you are writing all the base pairs in each and every division of the scale, mm scale, so that will require about 5,366 miles length for writing all the 3 billion base pairs. So you require in the normal scale in which each base will be represented in 1 mm distance, if you are representing something like that, then the length of the tape required to represent or write the 3 billion base pairs is 5,366 miles. Now think about identifying a 500 base pair sequence in a genome, in such a large genome of 3 billion base pairs. That would be something like finding a section of this tape of about 4 feet long from 5,366 miles. So if you can easily locate a 4 feet long region from 5,366 miles, then easily you can find out such a 500 base pair length in 3 billion base pairs. So you can imagine the overall distance or required, or the length of that 3 billion base pairs in the genome, and in which we are looking for the specific sequences of a target gene. So specifically locating that particular, or that 4 feet in 5,366 miles, that is the task in your hand. So that requires also more specific tools for identifying that specific sequence. Now when we come to the amplification problem, how many molecules do we need to be able to see them? So in a sample, you know that if the sample is much slow, it may not be visible to your eyes, or it may not be visible to your camera or some other gel electrophoresis systems. So how many molecules of the DNA is required for visualization, so that you will be able to see them? To be able to be visible in an agarose gel, where we usually visualize the DNA in bands, that require about 10 nanogram of DNA if you are using a fluorescent dye. And otherwise, if you are not using a fluorescent dye, maybe you require a fast blast die, it requires about 25 nanogram, 25 nanogram of the DNA sample. And for 25 nanogram weight of the DNA sample of a 500 base pair product, that require how many molecules? There is a calculation which is given, and based on which you can say that 1.8 into 10 raised to 10 copies of 500 base pair DNA product is required to reach this quantity. That is a 10 nanogram or 25 nanogram. To reach that quantity, you require about 1.8 into 10 raised to 10 copies of the DNA. So if such a gene is normally, if it is represented as in a cell as a single copy, then 1.8 into 10 raised to 10 copies, or the number of cells is required, and all the DNA needs to be extracted. Then you have to try for visualizing that one, if you are cutting it out from such a culture system or cell-based system. So that is quite difficult, In other words, to see a single gene, the DNA in a sample of 100 cells would have to be multiplied 180 million times. Or you can visualize it in 100 cells. If it is a 100 cell, that cells to be divided, or it should be grown about 180 million times. That much copies of the cells is required to extract the DNA and visualize it in HL. So there we require amplification, either culture based or some other advanced techniques is required. So now we have two problems, specificity and amplification. We addressed what is specificity, or why we require specific amplification, and specific identification, and why we require amplification of the product so that it can be visualized. Now, PCR or polymerase chain reaction is a solution for both these issues. So what is PCR used for? PCR is actually used for forensic DNA detection, identifying transgenic plants, detection and quantification of viral infection, cloning, detection of ancient DNA, gene expression analysis. So wherever you want to identify or amplify a particular DNA sequence or a specific DNA sequence from a very low quantity of the target sequence, then you can use this PCR technique. And in the history of the invention of the PCR, we can see that Carey B. Mullis, who developed the PCR or polymerase chain reaction in 1983. PCR allows the rapid synthesis of designated fragments of the DNA using the technique. Over 1 billion copies can be synthesized in a matter of hours. PCR is valuable to scientists by assisting gene mapping, the study of gene functions, cell identification, and to forensic scientists in criminal identification. So it's having various roles or various benefits were there for using this PCR technique. Cetus Corporation, that is Carey Mullis' employer at the time of his discovery of PCR, was the first to commercialize this PCR process. In 1991, Cetus Corporation sold this PCR patent to Hoffmann La Roche, another company, for a price of about $300 million. It is currently an indispensable tool for molecular biologists, and the development of genetic engineering is completely or solely based on this PCR technique. Carey Mullis actually was born in 1944, and the inventor of this DNA synthesis process process known as the polymerase chain reaction, that is the Carey Mullis, and the process is invaluable tool. It's an invaluable tool to today's molecular biologists and biotechnology corporations, because everywhere molecular biology concept is used now, PCR is an indispensable tool. And Mullis, born in Lanier, that is North Carolina, attended the University of Georgia Tech for his undergraduate work in chemistry, and then he obtained his PhD in biochemistry from Carl Berkeley. Then in 1983, while working on Cetus Corporation, Mullis developed the polymerase chain reaction, a technique for the rapid synthesis of DNA sequence. And the simple process involved heating of the heating of the vial that is containing the DNA fragments to split the two strands of the DNA or melt the DNA strands into two separate strands, and adding the oligonucleotide primers to bring about the reproduction, and finally using the polymerase to replicate the DNA strands. Each cycle doubles the DNA or doubles the amount of the DNA because it's a replication cycle. So multiple cycles increase the amount of the DNA exponentially. So 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, something like that. So exponentially increase of these number of strands is there while we are using the polymerase chain reaction. So it multiplies cycle. So multiple cycles increases the amount of DNA exponentially, creating huge number of copies of the DNA fragment. Mullis left Cetus Corporation in 1986, and for his development of the PCR, he was co-awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1993. So this is about the history of the invention of the PCR and some basic about the inventor, that is Kary Mullis. The process which Dr. Mullis conceptualized in 1983 is hailed as one of the monumental scientific techniques in the 20th century, and a method of amplifying the DNA, that is PCR. It multiplies a single microscopic strand of the genetic material to billions of times within hours. So Mullis also explains his vision over this discovery. He says that it was a chemical procedure that would make the structure of the molecule of our gene as easy to see as billboards in the desert and as easy to manipulate as finger toys. So, which means you can easily increase the quantity of the DNA so that you can easily visualize and you can easily manipulate if you have sufficient quantity of the DNA which is amplified using PCR. It would find infectious diseases by, or he also states the purpose or the usefulness of this technique. He says that it would find infectious diseases by detecting the genes of the pathogens that were difficult or impossible to culture. So if a pathogen is difficult or impossible to culture, normally it is not possible to specifically identify that one. So he says that this technique will be a helpful tool in identifying non-culturable microbes. The field of molecular paleobiology would blossom because of the PCR. It's means paleobiology in archaeology and paleobiology, etc. For analyzing the samples, this type of PCR technique is used widely. Its practitioners would inquire into the specifics of the evolution from DNA in ancient specimens. And when DNA was finally found in other planets, it would be PCR that would tell us whether we had been there or there before or not. For example, if some scientist who is, for example, we are trying to explore Mars now, and the probe which is sent to Mars may identify the quantity of the water which is present or which may be present in that planet, or any forms of life which may already existed in that planet, and all these things needs to be analyzed based on the PCR technique, and if a DNA sample can be identified from that one, And if that DNA sample has some connections with the humans, then we can see that a related species or a humans or even a related species were already there, or that type of species was already inhabited that planet in maybe billions of years ago. So that type of analysis can be possible only using such technique known as a PCR. So while inventing this machine, Kary Mullis actually he briefly stated the different or the scope of this invention or the applications of this invention, and in various fields like amplification of the DNA samples, identification of pathogens and disease diagnosis, then analysis of the prehistoric samples or something, and even exploration of other planets and invention of life forms in that planets. Everywhere, wherever such exploration is done, these type of tools can be used. So he already envisioned or envisaged all this type of applications for PCR while inventing that one. So now we will come to some practical uses of the PCR. The first one is forensics. PCR's ability to amplify even the smallest amount of DNA from samples collected at the crime scene gives the method great power when used in criminal forensics. Now it is widely used. The DNA from body fluids, hair, or other tissue samples is amplified to create a nearly unique pattern of each individual. And this pattern can be then compared with the suspects in the case. So, such a forensic analysis of the DNA sample is possible. And the infamous O.J. Simpson case was the first one in which the technique of the PCR became widely publicized. So, there are various cases are there in which such a forensic analysis of the DNA samples were nowadays used for identifying the culprits. Then genetically modified foods can be detected, or GMOs can be detected. And GMOs are widely grown in USA and other countries. For various reasons, some countries require exporters to indicate the percentage of the GMO content in their grains or other food shipments. So PCR can be used to accurately measure the exact quantity of the genetically modified food in the shipment by looking at the DNA that makes up the food. So GMOs can be easily detected. And that type of detection is nowadays especially used while importing food from one country to another. Paternity testing. PCR's power at identifying individual genetic makeup has made it invaluable for use in paternity testing. Or by amplifying the specific DNA fragments from parents or close relatives, it is possible to reconstruct relatedness between the individuals. PCR can not only identify the relationships between peoples today, but they can also be used to identify historical family relationships. All these things can be possible using such PCR-based techniques. Archaeology is another aspect. PCR has been used for many scientific studies in the field of archaeology, reconstructing the Dead Sea Scrolls, then identification of the pigments or paint pigments in the cave paintings, then determining the relatedness between individuals in ancient ossuaries, then constructing dinosaurs from blood preserved in amber specimens. That's the concept of that Jurassic Park film. So wherever you require such archaeological analysis, or this technique can be used. Disease diagnosis. PCR is now invaluable in modern disease diagnosis. PCR can identify disease-causing organisms much easier or much earlier than other methods, because since it looks for the DNA of the organism itself, it is not its protein, or it's not its proteins, or its effect on the immune system. So usually diseases were diagnosed based on the symptoms or some other indirect detection using the presence of proteins, etc. So that is an indirect detection system. Maybe there are false positivities is possible, but When you directly detect the DNA of the concerned pathogen, then you can make sure that there is an active infection existing. That's why even in the COVID-19 case, you know that RT-PCR is the confirmatory test, not the antigen-based test, because active infection can be detected only by performing the RT-PCR or such a PCR-based techniques. PCR has even been used to diagnose diseases of the past by amplifying minute amounts of the disease-related DNA in preserved specimens. So the pathogen can be even detected in preserved specimens. So a disease of the past can be, or a previous sample, or maybe a sample taken years back, maybe again taken and analyzed for the presence of such a disease causative agents in the sample. Disease treatment is also another aspect. PCR can not only be used in disease diagnosis, but it also aid in the treatment of the diseases. For example, real-time PCR is used to directly monitor the amount of the HIV virus in the patient suffering from infection. By monitoring the amount of the virus present or active infection rate, the drug therapy can be continuously adjusted to maximize the virus suppression. So, in this continuous virus monitoring or detection, live status of the viral detection using real-time PCR can be used for proper treatment, for giving proper treatments to such a HIV patients. So, this is another aspect. Wildlife conservation, because PCR can be used to identify not only individuals but also can differentiate between species. It is often used in wildlife conservation research. PCR can be used to monitor trade in products made from such endangered species, maybe even the cases that is filed against wildlife poachers and other things. Maybe such animals like wild boars or etc. That may be killed by such wildlife poachers, and they may use these animals for hunting, etc. And once the sample is located or identified, a strong case can be filed against such culprits only when there is a DNA-based evidence is there. So always such samples will be sent to for forensic analysis, especially based on PCR-based identification. And once it is done, we can confirm that this is a particular wildlife species that they are hunted, and this case will be strong only when such a forensic evidence based on DNA analysis is available. So PCR can be used to monitor ecosystems for the presence of certain species. So wildlife conservation, that is also another aspect. They can study the species that is available in that ecosystem using PCR-based analysis, surveys. PCR can be used even to monitor and identify the individual animals. So these are all various applications in wildlife conservation. Then there is some basic research applications are also there, and the Human Genome Project has identified tens of thousands of genes in the human genome. A key question is, what do these genes do? So there are thousands of genes, which is maybe 30,000 genes present in the human genome. So when we ask the question, what do these 30,000 genes do? The part of the answer comes from determining when the genes are turned on or off, and what aspect of what affects the level of gene expression. So you need to identify which genes are turned on or off at a particular condition, and what are the stimulus or what are the factors that is affecting the on or off condition of the gene, or expression of the gene, or suppression of the expression, etc. That needs to be analyzed. And the quantitative PCR is a key component in determining the level of gene expression, and is a critical tool in cancer research, then disease studies and development biology, etc. So the gene expression analysis is maybe using microarrays or some other advanced techniques in which the gene expression in a particular system can be easily identified, and or it can be compared with the normal sun diseased or an infected condition, or a cancerous condition maybe. So these difference in the gene expression profile can be analyzed using PCR based or quantitative PCR based methods. Okay. The next session is the working of the PCR, and that will